Hi everyone. I selected Big Data, Big Health Gain scenario because it describes a desirable future. More data, better prediction, more personalized care, and stronger prevention. My question is not whether we should embrace this future. We already do it. My question is one of leadership in medical education. As these technologies evolve, my role is not only to bring new tools into curriculum, but to ensure implementation strengths rather than displace the humanistic formation of physicians. My guiding argument is simple. Technology will change faster than any curriculum can. Big data may improve care substantially, but specific tools keep changing. Today, the dominant concern is artificial intelligence. Tomorrow, it will be something else. So medical education cannot be built around the latest tool. It must cultivate durable capacities, interpretation, ethical judgment, narrative competence, critical questioning, and the ability to imagine alternatives. My leadership role is not simply to adapt the curriculum to technological change, but to shape that change through curriculum assessment, faculty development, humanities, and arts. I graduated from medical school in 2019 and finished my neurology residency training in 2023. That places me in a specific durational position, as I've trained as a physician in the medicine, which became increasingly data mediated, but before AI and learning analytics was embedded as they are becoming now. As a faculty member in undergraduate medical school, I work directly on curriculum, simulation, assessment, and clinical teaching. This is where my leadership is concrete. I do not control institutional policy alone, but I do help decide what we teach, what we simulate, what crucially we assess. The scenario I choose, big data, big health gain, is presented as a high aspiration future. Analytics, personalization, prevention, producing real gains in individual and population health. I accept that promise. I embrace that promise. This is not dystopia. But in education, every technological gain also raises a formation question. What habits will students develop? What will they learn to value? What kind of physician will this environment produce? That formation question is where educational leadership becomes necessary. And it's this question I want to own. In my context, big data is no longer only a research topic. It's becoming the environment in which medical education happens. Student meets data through electronic records, decision support systems, telehealth simulation, learning analytics, and AI-supported learning. These tools shape how they take histories, reason, receive feedback, and relate to patients. So my leadership question is not should we teach big data? It is how do we form physicians for a data-rich environment without reducing medicine to data processing? A common institutional response to technological change is to add content. A lecture on AI, a session on telehealth, a policy on integrity, useful, but not enough. Implementation is not formation. Adoption is not transformation. And pace matters. Technology reinvents themselves quickly through updates and versions, but judgment, professional identity, and trust develop slowly through supervision, reflection, and time. A skill can adapt a tool overnight. It cannot produce judgment overnight. So leadership means orchestrating different tempos. What should move fast, what should move carefully, and what must be allowed to mature. To frame this, I use a Brazilian image. This is the Amazonian River, the meeting of waters near Manaus, where Rio Negro and the Solimões flow side by side. Different colors, different temperatures, different speeds, for kilometers before they finally merge in the Amazonian River. I offer this as a metaphor. Medical education now faces a similar confluence. One current carries technology, data, scale, prediction, speed. The other carries humanistic medicine, narrative, uncertainty, relationship, judgment. Leadership is not choosing one current. It is creating conditions for the encounter to produce something larger as the Amazonian River. The real risk is not the physician become machines. It's subtler. They may become data-rich and story-poor, fluent with system, but weaker at interpreting meaning and listening. Verghese described the eye patient, the digital record that quietly displays attention from the person in the bed. And even before AI, Sinsky and colleagues showed that physicians spend nearly 2 hours on records and dashboards for every hour of direct patient contact. Students learn from what the environment rewards. But I hold this carefully. Stories are not automatically true either. Narratives also require critical appraisal. Data and stories both need interpretation. Technology do not only support students, they teach students what to notice. Systems structure visibility. Some things become easy to see, others easy to miss. Oppenheimer and colleagues show how a widely used algorithm reproduces racial bias because it used healthcare costs as a proxy for health need. The problem was not bad intent, it was a design choice embedded in the system. Goddard's review of automation bias shows a second risk. Users over-rely on decision support and grow less vigilant. So students must learn not only to use outputs, but to question them, a curricular decision, not a technological one. This is why humanities and the arts are not decoration. The humanities are infrastructure for responsible technology use. Narrative competence helps students see what data omit. Ethics helps them weigh consequences. History shows that technologies are neither neutral nor inevitable. Sharon's works on narrative medicine ground us. The arts add something distinct. They teach students to see otherwise. Following Kumagai and Ware ideas of making strange, arts-based methods slow perception, expose ambiguity, and disrupt assumptions so a system logical stops appearing natural. That interruption is exactly what lets students imagine other forms of care. To move from concern to action, I use the LEAD framework. Lead self, engage others, achieve results, develop coalition, and system transformation. I treat leads as an architecture. It tells me where leadership must happen, in myself, with others, in outcomes, through coalition, and at a level of a system. But I also find it incomplete for this particular challenge, and I will return to that. For me, lead self means critical enthusiasm. As a younger physician, I am comfortable with technology. This is an asset, but also a blind spot. My risk is not resistance. My risk is fascination. I can mistake speed for progress or novelty for education and value. So I have to keep asking, what problem does this tool actually solve? What habit does it produce? Does it strengthen judgment or create dependence? Does it free time for listening or add documentation? And who remains accountable when it fails? Leading myself means resisting both fear and fascination. Engaging others begin with listening before implementing. Students often review how tools are being used before any policy exists. Faculty review risks to reasoning and supervision. Patients review whether technology improves access or creates distance and mistrust. Community reviews contexts that a standardized system miss. And engagement cannot only be a way to obtain acceptance. If I invite these voices, they must be able to change the design, the priorities, and the pace. Otherwise, it's consultation, not engagement. Achieving results means defining success beyond adoption. Implementation outcome matters. Adoption, usability, efficiency, but so do educational outcomes. Reasoning, appraisal, accountability, humanistic outcomes, listening, communication, trust, inequity, outcome, bias, access, and who benefits. This must be measurable. For humanism, I can require a communication and listening station in our offices. For equity, any adopted tool undergoes a simple bias check before it reach students. For reasoning, we assess whether students challenge a wrong decision support output. Because what we assess teaches students what medicine values. If we measure only technological performance, that is what they will learn to value. Developing coalitions and transforming systems are inseparable here. This is not a technological project. It is an education ecosystem. Clinicians, educators, students, patients, ethicists, assessment leaders, legal advisors, technologists, but coalition also means facing power and conflict. Who gives up curriculum hours when I add humanities? Who controls the learning cycles analytical data? and under which data protection rules. Who decides what assessment rewards? Naming those tensions is leadership. System transformations means integrating technology through curriculum, assessment supervisions, faculty development, governance, and culture. Otherwise, we teach humanism formally while the system quietly rewards speed, screens, and data extraction. So, where is leads incomplete? I would not say it ignores those things. I would say it under-specifies them for the works of formation. It says less about power, who defines the change, who benefits, who is excluded. Less about knowledge, how information is produced, validated, and contested. It attempts to identify in myself, but less to professional identity as something informing students. And it does not name cadence, the different speeds I described earlier. So I complement leads with 5 lenses: purpose, identity, knowledge, power, and cadence. They do not replace the framework, they make explicit what a data-rich formation demands. My next step are sequenced and realistic. First, what I can lead now. Map our current technological practices and the hidden curriculum and pilot a longitudinal thread joining technology with humanity. In one course, I help coordinate. Second, what needs coalition? Define a graduate profile for data-rich medicine, redesign assessment, and develop faculty as role models. Third, what needs institutional authority? Governance for data, bias, and privacy, which with careful pilots before scaling. Each step has an owner, an indicator, and a horizon. Because my leadership role is not simply to adapt the curriculum to technological change, but to shape that change through curriculum assessment, faculty development, and humanities. Thank you.